Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, to gather around and talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all that good stuff that gives us joy. I'm joined, of course, on this broadcast today, coming all the way from the observatory, one Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
John, I'm doing very, very well.
Good to have you here. And of course, Jonathan Voico is joining us from all the way in Burbank.
Hello, everybody.
And of course, most importantly, you guys are here. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, I'm going to take your live comments and questions and topics. If you guys are watching the show live, and you do have to be watching live in order to do this, you can send in a topic or question using the super chat feature, and I will get around to answering those in the last part of the show, provided, of course, that you guys ask a question or topic that is appropriate for us to address on the show. All right. With that all down, guys. By the way, what a hell of a soccer game today. And yes, for all of you nonsensical people, yeah, John, it's called football. It's not called soccer. The English coined the term soccer. It was used interchangeably with football for like 100 years. You guys are the ones who came up with the term soccer. That's just the one we happen to use. So just shut up about it. Anyway, what a game this morning between Argentina and Egypt. What a game. Absolutely crazy. So much fun. Anyway, let's get into it here, guys, shall we? And we are going to start off with this. You know, AI is all the rage. And when I say rage, I just don't mean trending. I mean real, actual rage. Some people get very upset about it, especially when it comes to the world of entertainment. Particularly how is AI going to be used in our filmmaking and in all that kind of stuff. Part of the big writer strike was about how much is AI going to be allowed to be used in the writing of scripts and all that kind of stuff. Well, some of you guys might remember a little while ago, there was a new AI actress by the name of Tilly Norwood, who of course was then getting representation, all kind of stuff. And it was a big kerfuffle about nothing. However, according to an article in Variety, Tilly Norwood, the fake person, the AI generated actress, is going to be making her, I don't even know what to say, I guess, feature film debut in a new movie called Misaligned. The folks over at Variety write the following: Tilly Norwood, the AI quote unquote actor, who sparked a frenzy of anger in Hollywood and across the wider industry in late 2025, is set to front her first feature film. Misaligned, announced by Particle 6, is the AI-focused studio behind Norwood, is described as a comedy drama telling a coming-of-age story infused with existential AI chaos. Set inside the so-called Tillyverse, a surreal digital world located somewhere up in the cloud, the film will follow Tilly, an AI being with no real body, no childhood, and no lived experiences of her own, only access to everyone else's. Things spiral when a seductive rogue bot from the dark web convinces her to abandon her guardrails and begin developing desires, impulses, and ambitions, making her more human.
Sounds like a Pixar movie.
Wow, that's very meta, man. That whole thing is very meta.
It does kind of sound a little bit like a Pixar movie, doesn't it?
I mean, she's starring in a movie about what she is. I mean, it's kind of on the nose.
It's like 8 Mile. It's just like 8 Mile. Okay, no.
Yeah.
So seriously, my first, as in many things, you have a first reaction and then you think about it a little bit and you change. So my first reaction to this was kind of to guffaw. It's like, oh, come on, please. Like I totally believe AI is going to evolve to a place where it gets better and better and better and becomes more and more lifelike. I know that, I understand that, but I still think AI is in a place of being an absolute joke. Like the amount of times I try to do some data digging using like ChatGPT or something like that. It's like, hey, what are the remaining? I remember just the other day, I remember jumping on a ChatGPT and I did just a quick search for what are the remaining Sony released films coming out between now and the end of 2027. I just wanted to get a quick list together, right? And it was still spitting out one film that was definitely a Warner Brothers film and like not being distributed by Sony anywhere. And a couple were films that came out like last year. I mean, that's just kind of a thing. And I even remember a bunch of people sharing this AI generated Star Wars fan film with me a few months ago. Rob, I think you might remember this because I might have showed it to you too, where it's Luke goes back to Tatooine to find the Kyber crystal to make his own lightsaber. And like, I remember people wrote to me about saying, John, you got to watch this. Oh my God, it's blowing your mind, blah, blah, blah. It sucked. It was straight up trash. I mean, yes, did it look photorealistic? 100% it did. I mean, with a couple of exceptions, but it was very impressive how it looked, but it still sucked, right? And so when I see things like this, with, you know, oh, this AI actress going to be leading an AI movie about being an AI actress in an AI world, I have to guffaw. Now, I do want to throw one thing out there, though, that is kind of overlooked by everybody. While this company, as I pull there, Particle 6, is making this little movie, it doesn't say anywhere that anybody's actually going to pick it up and distribute it. Like this will probably, I'm guessing, be a straight to, they'll put it on YouTube or they'll put it on Netflix or they'll put it on Amazon or something. Like I don't think Disney is going to be running out and picking up the rights to Misaligned and it's going to be playing in a theater near you. But is this like that first moment? Is this that first thing that maybe not very good, but do we look back on this 5 years from now and go, that was kind of the start of it? Or will this just become a fluffy memory? So Rob, I mean, there's no doubt AI continues to evolve. It continues to improve. It continues to really suck at certain things. And I wonder the rate of growth and development and evolution that AI has had until now, I think it's hitting a bit of a bottleneck right now. Like, I think to me over the past 4 or 5 months, when you look at the rapid rate of evolution of AI from like a year and a half ago to 6 months ago was staggering. And it feels like its development, at least in form of artistic stuff from 6 months ago till now has almost seemed stagnant. So I don't know if we've hit a bottleneck. I don't know if we're at the precipice of just the next big thing, but focusing on this Tilly Norwood story, Rob, you saw it. What were your first thoughts about it?
Well, I mean, they've picked a good story if they're going to, as an example of using an AI character fully generated. But I still see AI generated characters as photorealistic as they are as animation. You know, they're not real people. They'll never be real people. They're medians of real people created by AI technology that's photorealistic. And I have to believe I'm still clinging to the idea that one of the things about movies as an art form that made them desirable in the first place is, people forget this, but it's kind of an interesting concept. We were never able to see representations of real life really before the beginning of the 20th century. We only had paintings. We never saw moving images of representations of life until, you know, you saw a film of a train coming into a station, and the first people that saw that were like, what is this?
Yeah.
You know, because it didn't exist. So one of the things that I think that made movie making appealing and why people like film storytelling is they're seeing representations of human beings in front of them. And I think, you know, we talk a lot about the uncanny valley, and what photorealistic AI is supposed to do is eliminate the uncanny valley, where human beings are absolutely photorealistic representations. But what I'm curious about is, can AI duplicate the soul of an actor? You can get as many medians as you want in performance and line readings, but when Humphrey Bogart says, here's looking at you, kid, in Casablanca, you can see, even though it's a photo, it's photography, it's not, you're not watching something live, you can feel the soul in a great actor. You can feel the soul, even that Pixar, uses all this computer technology. There is a soul imbued in that animation because it is created by human beings using computers as a tool. When you generate something via generative AI, all of it is, like, you can pick your prompts and move your things around, but there's very little human beings doing the actual images that's presented to you. That's what AI is lacking. It's lacking human intervention.
Remember how we talked about this a week or two ago? They've put out a new audio version of the Odyssey as narrated by Michael Caine.
That's a great example, John.
And you know, but it's not Michael Caine. It's an AI voice trained to sound like Michael Caine. And I went and listened to the excerpt from it, and it's like, well, yeah, 100%. It sounds like Michael Caine. But there is no soul to it, as you were pointing out, Rob. Like there's no, there's still something that rings so hollow in it.
Well,
it's just objectively soulless.
The thing is this: it's not even trained. It's actually Michael Caine's real voice digitized, so it is his voice. The thing is, what it doesn't have behind it is the mind. You know, it's a digitized voice, and you can literally have the voice read words. But to know where inflections should go, or when you're doing somebody's voice, when you're doing the voice of Odysseus, he's making unbelievable amount of choices. Just if he was reading it for real in his own mind, I can't even think about how many calculations are being done at that level, at the actor level. When you are just reading. When I recorded, I was with Michael Rosenbaum last night watching the game, the USA game at his house, and we talked about recording True Noir. And I spent 7 days with him, just him and I across from each other, recording his narration, and the way he could put color and emotion on sentences, and how he would stop and go, "Let me give you one more reading," and add just a little zhuzh here, or you heard the wink in his voice there. AI can't do that, no matter how good AI gets, because there's really no soul that comes from a lifetime of human experience behind it. It can only give you a median of what it knows via data. And so, like you said, it's Michael Caine's real voice, but it's not his soul.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day,
it sounds like his real voice. Because it's not him reading it. Anyway, guys.
Well, no, but if you look at how it's recorded, it is a perfect recreation of his voice with no soul.
Absolute perfect recreation of his voice. It's just clearly not him. And I think that's going to be the problem we have for a while. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about all this? I mean, it might be much ado about nothing. This is a movie that's not going to go anywhere or actually do anything, but is it the start of a bigger thing or not? Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, we didn't talk about it yesterday because we had just a full docket yesterday, but got to get around to talking about the other night's episode of House of the Dragon, Season 3, Episode 3, or for my friends in Quebec and Paris, Trois. Episode Trois. So, I can still count in French. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Anyway, I can keep going. Are you impressed? I can count to 50 in French. Anyway.
Bet Tilly Norwood can't do that.
I bet Tilly Norwood can't do that. Let's see Tilly Norwood do that. So, and you know what? It was the most different episode of the season so far. Like when you look at episodes 1 and 2 and like all the things that are happening in them and all the dragons and everything like that. And like, then we come to episode 3. And if you read it on paper, the summary of episode 3 being Rhaenyra takes the throne and now has to deal with the administration jobs. Okay, well, that sounds like kind of a snoozer, but it was so good. It was so good. You know what, guys? I have said For like going back to House of the Dragon and even Game of Thrones itself, I've always said, yes, I love the big battles, Battle of the Bastards. I love the dragons. Yeah, that's all great. And I love it and I eat it up. I do. But I still contend the very best parts of this Westeros universe shows is always the stuff going on behind closed doors. It's always the conversations. It's always the drama that totally gets me and kills me, and how they never forget little details. Like Rhaenyra walking through the kingdom and like noticing rats, and you go all the way back to the other season. The king had all the rat catchers killed. Oh, that causes problems. And then it's like, oh, we don't have enough money. Oh, we can't administer. We can't do. And like now being faced with the daily ins and outs. And then the big problem, the dilemma she has with Corlys. Like, who wants to give his sons his name? I've bled for you. I nearly drowned for you. I had men die. I lost my castle. My sons nearly died. I have done everything for you. And all I want you to do is let my sons have my name. And you're saying no. And it's like, you get these dilemmas that she's in now. And then trying to deal with the fact, well, how do we feed the people? Like, just all this stuff going from the big battles on the open seas to trying to figure out logistical realities of now, okay, I'm on the throne. Now what? Right. I was glued. And I know
once you get your wish,
careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
But I was glued, and I understand there's going to be some people, well, I watch for the dragons. I want more explosions. Okay, that's fine. I get it. I love the dragons, and I love the pow pow, and I love the explosions too, and the stabby stabby. I love all that stuff. But this is the stuff to me that makes Game of Thrones special. Because anybody can have dragons biting somebody in half. Anybody can have a big army marching. But to really nail the drama and nail the characters and just make these like a scene where like she's trying to struggle with, well, do I do this or do I do this, and make it unbelievably compelling? And the performance was insane. The performances were insane. And God, I love this show, guys. I absolutely love the show. Rob, you watched the latest episode of House of Dragon, episode 3. What did you think about it? Because you and I haven't talked about this yet.
Like you, I was astonished. First of all, Emma Darcy as Rhaenyra, the last 2 episodes, just talk about colors in a performance. She is astonishing in this role. And the looks on her faces, it's not always like when she's crying or emoting. It's sometimes when she's just staring straight forward. She's incredible. Just an incredible performer in this role. This season, these are 3 bangers in very different ways. Like you were saying, I mean, in this, you just saw the walls crushing in on her, and you realize that the Greens have a plot that is unfolding very slowly. That is, I mean, you fear for everybody in King's Landing. You fear for the Blacks. You fear for the war is certainly not over. And I love that the name of the episode was Rhaenyra Triumphant. Oh my God. Was she?
Is this
Are
what
you
victory
sure
looks
about
like?
that? You sure about that?
Yeah, right.
And I was just, it was from everything that she did and the whole thing with Corlys, I was screaming, John. I'm like, just do what he wants. He's earned it. Don't do this. When she called one of his sons, the dragon rider, gave him the name Hull. I'm like, you need to get a little bit of Daenerys Targaryen in you, because she would understand that you can't always, you need to show fealty to those who have. Corlys deserves it. His sons deserve it. And you effed them. And you know that was a fuse that is lit, that is going to come back, and you are going to get bitten on the ass. I'm like, Rhaenyra, I love you. I want to see you win. I'm Team Black all the way, but you screwed up.
Okay, but, and here's part of the reason, like everything you're saying is absolutely true. But here's part of the reason why I loved it, especially that scene and that whole circumstance that's going on.
And
like,
he
between her
was
and
so
Corlys.
good.
Oh yeah, he was so good. And then he like lost his mind. Like after everything, I lost my wife, I lost my castle, I lost men that have served me their whole lives. I've lost and you can't give me this. But here's why I loved it. Because what Rhaenyra said the show has showed us that she's not wrong.
No.
Right? That's the thing. The show has showed us over the last 3 seasons that what she said, because of what she's gone through personally, like her hesitation, there's a reason for it, right? And it's an understandable reason. And here's why I dig it. So I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, but I think like back at the peak of like AMC and Collider, at some point, if you count full-time and part-time, I think I probably had like a staff of like 26 at one point. Like it spiraled too big at some point. But here's one of the things that I learned running an organization that big. When you sit in the chair, you are going to have people coming to you with different agendas that both are totally right to have the agendas they have. And it's totally understandable why they want what they want, but they are contradictory to each other and you can't possibly grant both. Right? And here's the one thing I learned being there. Everybody is only concerned about what is best for them. And when you're in that chair, you got to sometimes play the bad guy and go, I get it. You do deserve this. You're right. But it's bad for the thing overall. And therefore I can't do it. And then you got to be the bad guy. And I probably would have, I'm with you on this. Like if I was in Rhaenyra's shoes, given the importance of Corlys, I would have given Corlys what he wanted. But I just love the fact that the show isn't shying away from making or isn't giving in to making it easy for Rhaenyra.
Right.
She's
Right.
Everywhere she turns, she's faced with a dilemma. She's faced with I'm fucked if I do this and I'm screwed if I do that, but I have to do one or the other. And I just got to think of one. And like, that's why the whole episode stressed me the F out.
Dude,
the
it was
whole
so
episode stressed me out.
It was
And
so
on top
stressful.
of that, she's mourning. On top
Yeah,
of all
she's
that,
still
mourning.
dealing with the death of her kid.
Yeah.
But there was some baller moves she made, like the banquet
Oh,
scene. That
the
was
banquet
so
of
great.
rats.
Yeah, that
Oh.
was so good. But I have to say, to go back to this issue, she was dealing with the fact of tradition and the idea that you have to preserve the bloodlines of people and you have to talk about, and that's what she was dealing with Corlys. You can't just promote commoners up to royal status, which I totally get. But in a situation like this, those norms, you have to make compromises. You have to because I don't think that anybody in Westeros would after she did this would call her to the mat on it, because it was the right thing to do. And what I liked about it was she's doing the right thing some ways, and she's doing the things that are going to come bite her. It's a cauldron that's bubbling, and there's all these different ingredients. It's a souffle, and one wrong move and the souffle is gonna. And by the end of the episode, John, I was so, like you said, stressed out. I was so, when you're watching, like, it's not a spoiler, but when you're watching all the green the tapestries burn,
being torn
and
down,
she's standing there looking into the fire, I'm like, this is the most apropos final shot of a Game of Thrones episode ever. And I was so stressed, like you were. Man, this show is good this season.
Oh, it's so good. And then of course the big, that's not my kid. I'm like, oh, okay, this is getting wild. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to watch episode 3 of House of the Dragon? If so, what did you think about it? It was a total change of pace, and it might not have been for everybody. Totally understand that, but I ate it up. Whatever you guys thought about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? For so many reasons, the pandemic was a big ball of crap. But if you try into the terrible situations in life, find minor little unimportant silver linings. One for me was, well, for a lot of people was, I got to see a lot of film fans getting caught up on great classic movies that they never seen. I had so many people write into us guys saying they watched Godfather for the first time.
That was the one I was gonna go to. I think more people watched The Godfather in that period than like
so many
decades.
people during the lockdown writing in saying, well, I finally got around to watching The Godfather 1 and 2. Or next up was like a lot of people saying, I finally watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy and all that kind of stuff. For me, one of those things for me was finally watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I really enjoyed it. Like, I thought it started a little childish, and that's fine. It was originally aimed for a younger audience. But I found as the show progressed, the themes got more and more mature. And I actually really ended up really liking Avatar. I really enjoyed it a lot. Well, I wasn't such a big fan of the second Avatar, Korra. I wasn't big on Korra, but I love the first one. So a little while ago, they announced that they were doing a movie, Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender. And it was going to be theatrical. And then they changed their minds and decided it instead was going to be dumped on streaming. Then I heard from somebody, let's just say, very close to the situation, that the movie was a disaster. That Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender was a total disaster, that Paramount actually considered Batgirling it and ultimately decided to put it out on, streaming instead. And of course, the big thing leaked online, so a lot of people saw it anyway. Some people said they liked it, actually. So anyway, I've kind of put it out of my head. Well, now they've announced that Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender, has now moved up its release date. It's coming at the end of the month now. And they released a brand new trailer for it. So this is basically Aang from the original Avatar series, now a little bit older, a little bit wiser. The world's in a different kind of place. Clearly from the trailer, you see they find another airbender. Aang's not the last airbender and whatever. So I sat down to watch the trailer. Remember, I've been told by somebody very, very close to it that the movie's just garbage. And I gotta say, I really like the trailer. Like, it's surprisingly good. Like, forget everything else. Like, just put all the other stuff out of your mind, whether it's the live action stuff on Netflix or Korra or all the other news of projects that started up and died and whatever. If I just sat down in a vacuum and just watched this trailer, I would go, this looks good. I am interested in watching this. And so I got to say, I was absolutely shocked and surprised by how good I thought it looked. So
I love that shot, by the way, that you have up right now.
Oh, that's a great shot. You know what? It's also, they aged him up perfectly. Yes. They aged him up perfectly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So he looks good there. Anyway, Rob, did you have a chance to see the trailer for Avatar Aang? And if so, what did you think?
I felt like you did. I mean, I didn't have much, we've heard a lot about this and they decided not to do what they were originally going to do, but I watched the trailer and it did, what do you always say, that a trailer increases your interest in something?
Yeah, that's the job of a trailer.
And I think that
increase your interest.
Certainly did for me. I mean, I was like, wow, this looks better than I had thought it would look. So, it made me interested in it. I still am dubious, to be honest.
Oh yeah. I mean, let's be clear. Let's not lose sight of the fact that a good trailer does not automatically mean a good movie, right? And a bad trailer does not necessarily mean a bad movie. Trailers are trailers. The movies are the movies. But it's nice if the trailer can be really good. And yeah. I thought the trailer looked really sharp.
And it did what it did. It upped my interest. I mean, the thing is, I think that The Last Airbender, the original animated series, is a terrific show. And I didn't watch all of Korra. I watched some of it, but I just didn't really, it didn't capture my imagination the way the original series did. But, I want this to be good. I hope it's good, but I don't, knowing what we know about what happened with it, I don't know if I believe that it's good. But this trailer, I'm like, okay, you got me. I'll watch.
Yeah. Sign me up. I thought the trailer looked good. I'll check it out. Again, I'm like you, Rob. I'm still going to go in dubious. I'm still going to go in skeptical because of the things we have heard. But I gotta say, the trailer got me engaged. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Did you guys have a chance to watch the trailer for Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender? If so, what did you think about it? Have you been looking forward to it? Have you completely put it out of your mind? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, Supergirl continues to be in theaters, and as we talked, we did the review, and we're not going to review it again. I'm just saying we did the review, and I didn't like the film. I don't think it was craven bad, but it was bad to me. And I understand there are people out there who enjoy it, and that's awesome. I wish I did too, but I didn't. It totally fell on its face on its opening weekend. Then it dropped 75+%, becoming the second or third biggest second weekend drop in the history of comic book films. It's just a disaster. Poor quality, bad box office reception, not great reviews, all that kind of stuff. There's just no getting around it. Supergirl's a disaster. So if you're the folks over at Warner Brothers and DC, you should be thinking at this point, okay, let's move past this. Let's just try to, we'll just get through it. We'll learn the lessons we need to learn. And now all eyes go to Lanterns and Clayface. But that's not what they're doing. The folks over at Warner Brothers and DC, Warner Brothers, whose CEO, David Zaslav, who I like a lot. You guys know I'm sometimes accused of being like a David Zaslav shill. So you guys know I like David Zaslav a lot. I think he's done a lot of brilliant moves, and he saved Warner Brothers when it certainly would have been out of business a long time ago if it wasn't for him. But I remember a year or two ago when he put out this big statement talking about, we just have seen no evidence that pulling movies out of theaters early to put them on streaming early has any benefit. We believe maintaining theatrical windows, and we believe that the films will benefit coming out on PVOD and streaming when they come out. There's no need to rush them, right? That David Zaslav is now the same David Zaslav who is behind this. Supergirl's digital release date has seemingly been revealed, and the new comic book movie could be available to rent or buy just 1 month after bombing at the box office. Here's the story. There are reports out there right now that Warner Brother has not confirmed, but the reports out there right now is that Supergirl is going to come out on PVOD on July 28th.
You gonna rent it?
32 days. 32 days after its release in theaters. 32 days. And how does this hurt Supergirl? And more importantly, DC, and more importantly, the movie industry as a whole? Because listen, leaving Supergirl in theaters for more than 32 days is certainly not going to move the needle on how much money it makes at the box office. Not at all. I'm not remotely suggesting that it would do that. However, what doing this does, and I bring this up every time, is it once again further conditions the audience and further conditions the consumers that, hey, if you're on the fence about a movie, don't bother going to see it. Just wait. It'll be out in home video in a few weeks. That's all this does, is it reconditions that more and more and more. And by David Zaslav's own logic, it was like, well, putting it out 1 or 2 weeks earlier on PVOD we've got no evidence that it makes any more money for it on PVOD than if it waited a few more weeks. And so they are once again fumbling over themselves. I don't blame DC for this. This is a Warner Brothers issue because they are the distributors. DC is just the production company, but still, it just when you think they couldn't find a way to screw up more with the Supergirl situation. And if it sounds like I'm talking harshly, remember, I'm a huge flag waving supporter of DC. I am. And I'm a huge flag waving supporter of James Gunn, 100%, but I still call it like I see it. And they have bungled the Supergirl thing every step of the way, starting with, as we know now, hiring a completely inexperienced screenwriter, to when they realized the film was bad, as we just found out in those articles in the trades, that there was a lot of behind the scenes creative problems with it, that they should have just Batgirled this movie initially. They botched the marketing campaign for it. It's been a complete and utter disaster at the box office. So now what do? Let's add another mistake to it. Let's make another unforced error. And in an age when all these studios are getting up on stages at CinemaCon saying, we believe in the 45-day theatrical window. We believe in longer windows, going to make more money for everybody. It's better for the whole industry, including home video, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, talk. The reality is putting this movie out on VOD at the same time that Spider-Man's about to hit theaters is not going to get you one more fucking purchase on PVOD for this terrible movie.
No.
Waiting 2 more weeks to put this movie out on PVOD re-emphasizes and re-establishes the theatrical proper window, and then you put it out on PVOD, and you're going to make every single bit of money that you would have if you released it a couple of weeks earlier without the drawbacks. And I learned that from David frickin' Zaslav, because he's the one who said it. So why not follow it? So I am just always amazed at studios and everybody, I mean, I count myself in this too, our ability to take mistakes and just keep making mistake, compounding it one on top of the other. So anyway, Rob, you saw this report. And again, let me reemphasize, these are the reports going around that is coming out July 28th. As of right now, Warner Brothers is not refuting it, but they haven't confirmed it. So all these reports are going around saying July 28th, very well probably is what they're doing. But just to be clear, Warner Brothers themselves have not confirmed it. So we may hear otherwise maybe tomorrow or within the next few days. Anyway, Rob, you saw the report. What's your first thought when you hear about this?
Well, I think, everything you just said is, I think, absolutely true. I think, but in the case of this particular movie, the movie's dead on arrival. It's not even going to make $100 million domestically. I think that there's the majority of the audience, they don't read reviews. They're not sitting on YouTube listening to us movie pundits. So I think the thinking behind this is this movie is a disaster of maybe biblical proportions, but we can still ride off the marketing or ride on the tails of the marketing for this movie. People know it's out. You can still buy your Kentucky Fried Chicken Happy Meal, Supergirl Happy Meal. So there's a lot of people that just aren't aware of what a disaster this is. And the Supergirl name carries weight. So the sooner they get this into an SVOD platform, you're going to reach hundreds of millions of people that don't go to the movies, that don't watch YouTube, that don't read reviews, that might be just looking for something interesting. Oh, there's a new Supergirl movie. Click. And I think getting it out on SVOD in this particular case, this is an outlier. This is a unicorn because of how bad it's doing.
Bad unicorn. Bad.
I actually think it can benefit the sooner it gets out.
I don't see how.
Because it's not making money at the box office.
I know, but it's not going to make one extra dollar coming out within 24 hours of Spider-Man hitting movie theaters than it would if you waited 2 weeks. Like, it's going to make the same. I haven't seen any data that suggests if they put it out on PVOD that it'll make more money now than if you released it in 2 weeks on PVOD. I think the same people, like you described them, who are sitting at home, clicking around saying, I'm looking for a movie to watch. There's Supergirl. I don't think that experience is any different than if you wait a proper amount of time than rushing it onto PVOD. When the negative word of mouth and the negative hype is at its highest point.
Right,
Like,
but that's only for people that follow that kind of hype. And I think that a lot of people, just as an impulse buy, it's going to piss off a lot of parents thinking they're going to get some kid-friendly Supergirl movie. But I think, though, that in this particular case, anything they could do, because, movies, I think one of the things that we forget, everyone who talks, all we ever talk about is box office. But I think people would be surprised to know just how much money some of these movies do bring in. I mean, I know that Predator Badlands made a lot of money. I'm not saying it outgrossed its theatrical run, but it was extremely lucrative in its secondary market space. And so I think a movie like this, anything they can do to maximize their profits would help, because it's going to otherwise be dead in the theaters. So then you have to have the theaters carrying this movie for another 2 weeks.
But I mean, you could pull them out of the theaters anytime.
Yeah,
you
you could, exactly.
I agree with you. Like, make as much money for it as you scrape together, whatever money you can. I just don't see any proof or evidence that suggests if you rush it out and break the proper theatrical window, which is doing damage to the industry as a whole, because we get people right into me on this show all the time saying, yeah, I go to fewer movies now because the movies I'm on the fence about, I just figure it's going to be on home video in a few weeks.
Right.
Then if you just put out 2 weeks, like I'm not saying don't put it out on home video.
Sure.
I'm just saying I don't think you should put it out on home video 32 days after it hits theaters, because you are conditioning the audience to go,
No,
we'll
it's
just
true.
wait for it to come out on video.
But
I don't know.
the flip side is we've seen Obsession, Backrooms, and Project Hail Mary stay in theaters longer than they probably were expected to because of the success. So they've been riding that success. I'm just offering that as the flip side of the argument.
Yeah, and you raise a good point there. And again, I'm not saying leave it in theaters so it can make more money, because it's not going to make more money. But that's a foregone conclusion at this point. So I don't know. It just seems to me, hopefully this Supergirl chapter is going to be one we can just put in the closet and forget about soon. And hopefully Lanterns will come out and all will be forgotten. If Lanterns is good, what's that? And Clayface. Yeah, exactly. And Clayface. If Clayface and Lanterns come out and they're as good as they look, we'll go, who cares about Supergirl? Yeah. Who cares what happened there? If not, it's really going to put a microscope on Supergirl and all the fumbles they had there with it. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Just to put a big cap, an explanation point on the failure of Supergirl, there now have reports going around that Warner Brothers is going to compound their mistakes and put it out on PVOD, while the negative hype around the movie is at its highest near the end of the month. I don't know. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to something else. And that is this. You know, one of the most anticipated, I think for a lot of people out there, the most anticipated movie of the year is probably Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Mine is obviously Dune 3, but for a lot of people, it's The Odyssey. And they assembled an incredible cast, and it's Christopher Nolan, and would he be able to bring this thing home? And now we heard some good things. We heard some really, really good things. And they did something kind of interesting. They decided not to have any social media influencer screenings. Now, a lot of people, you guys, you probably saw that being talked about a lot. What a lot of people misinterpreted that as is that they weren't doing any early critic screenings. No. They still did the screenings for the critics. They just didn't do what's come of fashion in the last few years is having specific screenings for social media influencers. Right. And I could care less whether they give those people screenings or not. But they still had the critic screenings. And well, the critics have now screened The Odyssey. And the response isn't good. The response is, this is the leading contender to win Best Picture at the Oscars this year. And remember, this is not from shoe TikToker Jimmy B. This is from people from Variety.
Is he real?
No, I just made that up.
Oh.
He's dating
It's my
Norwood.
It's my Tilly, whatever, Norwood character. So this is from people from IndieWire, from Variety, from The Wrap, from like actual, the big swinging critics. And over at the Hollywood Reporter, they're talking about The Odyssey first reactions are staggering and Nolan's biggest film to date. Here's what those who saw Christopher Nolan's epics are saying about the film. So, all right, let's get into it. Time Out wrote, dense but accessible, packed with career best work from the stacked cast. Samantha Morton is extraordinary. It's a dizzying mix of craft and spectacle that's built to last. Seen it twice. Took so much away both times. A chilling vision of brutalized men seeing themselves in the eyes of women. A study of leadership and an old school sweeping adventure tale. Even the Cyclops got me in the feels. There's even a few laughs too. Go see it twice. IndieWire wrote, The Odyssey, a surprisingly natural and less despairing Oppenheimer follow-up about a man haunted by defying the gods and dooming civilization. This one fights to avenge his own hubris. IMAX, obviously immense. Too clunky to be S-tier Nolan, but the last act rewards the journey. Variety wrote, I've seen Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, and it is an astonishing achievement, a triumphant, spectacular epic. The performances from Tom Holland, Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, John Leguizamo, Robert Pattinson, and Lupita Nyong'o are genuinely grand, and for some, truly the best performances of their career. Christopher Nolan is a visionary, and The Odyssey is a work of art. The battle scenes, especially at Troy, are breathtaking. It's an incredible epic. The Independent wrote, Nolan's biggest film to date. This film has about triple the number of huge set pieces than any of Nolan's previous films, and every single one of them is breathtaking in their own way. The Odyssey, Nolan showcases visual trickery in a way you've never seen a few before. The only criticism I have, and it's a good problem, is you're often left wanting more from each set piece, and it certainly goes your way into height of the rewatchability factor of the film. I also can't quite remember a film having such a stacked cast where everyone delivers. Special shout outs to Tom Holland in his best role to date, Hamish Patel and Samantha Morton, who damn well steal the show with the few scenes she's in. The Hollywood Reporter writes, film editor Aaron Couch, been seeing his movies in theaters since Memento, and after 25 years, The Odyssey gives us a first, a fleshed out horror sequence directed by Christopher Nolan. Digital Spy writes, The Odyssey is a staggering, packed with intense and spectacular set pieces, often backed by a soul-rattling score. It builds to a final act that's as good as anything Nolan's done. Purists might balk at the adaptation changes, but as an experience, nobody is doing it like Nolan. There's more. So we got critic Eric Davis. Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is an absolute triumph and a crowning cinematic achievement from one of the great filmmakers of our time. The production design is incredible, the action is breathtaking, and the scale is unlike anything he's done before. What really surprised me is how much he embraces horror. Anne Hathaway is incredible, Matt Damon is excellent, and Tom Holland continues to prove he can do just about anything. But Robert Pattinson absolutely stole the show for me. Batman. Look, it's a must-see cinematic event of the summer and quite possibly the year. I can't wait to watch it again. The folks over at Gold Derby also threw in a few that weren't there. Here we go. So Ann Thompson, she's one of my favorite film journalists, writes, my high expectations were met at Chris Nolan's stunningly mounted The Odyssey in IMAX 70mm. Matt Damon could win Best Actor, and a bevy of supporting thesps and noms will follow. The best picture to beat. Salazar wrote, The Odyssey is a staggering achievement. Oh, I think we already read that one.
Yeah.
There we go. Joshua Rothkopf wrote, The Odyssey is staggering, earthy, ghostly, weighty, touched by humor and grandeur alike. It's pure cinema. Obviously, the story is about returning home, but in a larger sense, this is also a return home to the robustly entertaining action movies that cinema was invented to tell. Then I'll leave it on this one. Peter Bradshaw writes, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is a colossal origin myth story of post-war delusion and a loss of innocence witnessed by the dead. Review later. Anyway, it just goes on and on. This, we talk sometimes, guys, about, reviews that come out for movies, and maybe it's got a high score, but it's like, yeah, almost everybody liked it, but they liked it. They didn't necessarily love it. Sometimes it's like, yeah, a lot of people disliked it, but they didn't necessarily hate it. This is people jumping out of their ass. Like, this is people like going, oh my God, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Like, I jump out of my ass all the time. It is like words like perfection, words like pure cinema, words like what, and again, I want to reemphasize, this is from the big heavy hitters of the film critics that did this. This isn't social media influencers or stuff like that. These are the same people who came out not liking Supergirl, but they go and watch Christopher Nolan. And Rob, I'm telling you, this is again, and this is some of my favorite film journalists. Some of my absolute favorite on here are just like losing their minds over this movie. And I am salivating. I'm seeing this movie in 9 days. 9 days I'm seeing this movie, and my countdown clock has begun. I cannot wait to watch this. Anyway, you heard these reviews now coming out about the Odyssey. What's surprising you? Are they better than you thought they'd be? Are they right in line with what you thought they'd be? Is there anything in there that you weren't expecting to hear? What did you think?
Well, no, I mean, C-Note, you don't bet against him, just like you don't bet against Jimmy C. I mean, even my least favorite Christopher Nolan movie is probably Tenet, but it is incredibly rewatchable. I'll watch that movie just as an exercise in marveling at all the shots that he got.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things, like all of this, you know, I love alternate versions of Shakespeare. Like I loved Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. I love the Richard III that Ian McKellen was in, the one that Ethan Hawke was in. I do not watch Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet and go, yeah, this isn't period accurate. So all I know is that I'm going to get a phantasmagoric Christopher Nolan shot entirely in IMAX version with this heavy hitter cast. It's a myth. It started out as a myth. It's always been a myth. So the same way that I would approach, if Baz Luhrmann's doing Romeo and Juliet with modern pop songs, I'm in. You know, the swords become guns. Do you bite your thumb at me, sir? I loved that movie. I loved Richard III. Now is the winter of our discontent. And it's set in a World War II style fascist regime. I don't sit there and go, it's not period accurate. I know that Christopher Nolan is going to make a myth writ large on the big screen in a way no one's ever seen before, entirely in IMAX. And every time I watch these recently released behind the scenes videos when they show where they're taking the cameras and listening to Tom Holland talk about they couldn't do close-ups because they have a blimped IMAX camera and they had to, like, Anne Hathaway's over here and they're over here and you have to do it through a mirror so it looks like they're looking at I'm looking at this technology and all the stuff that's happening in camera. There is no reason not to think that this is going to be a staggering cinematic experience from top to bottom. Like, we're getting a filmmaker who used his clout over the success of Oppenheimer, that was more successful than anybody ever believed. And the one thing that he wanted to do was this. And we have seen filmmakers certainly failed going after their favorite projects. But this is Christopher Nolan. This is C-Note. This is the man that doesn't even have a smartphone. So if he's going to go after something, it's going to consume the entirety of his existence as a filmmaker. That alone means I'm excited. Like my excitement has always been off the charts for this project because I know whatever we're going to get, it's going to be staggering. So I think the only thing I'm going to think about this movie is that it's too short because it should have been 5 hours long.
I talked to one of the people who saw the movie. And only one. I only talked to one of them. So this is only one person's opinion. So keep that. This is just a single person's opinion. But, you know, they go like, you know, I thought Oppenheimer, they said, was Nolan's best work. You know, it won Best Picture, nearly joined the $1 billion club. Like it was phenomenal. It was great. It's not my personal favorite Christopher Nolan film, but, you know, for this person, he was like, I thought, you know, to me, Oppenheimer was his crowning achievement. It was his best film, won Best Picture at the Oscars. He said, I think this laps that. Like, he didn't just say, I think Odyssey is better than Oppenheimer. He said, I think this laps it. And like, that is, it's just absolutely stunning hearing like the things coming out about it. And I mean, look, go ahead.
Sometimes you ask me because I'm the resident father in this group. And we've mentioned that Gen Z really loves Nolan. So I'm only bringing this up because this happened over the weekend. So we have tickets. We had tickets to go see it at the IMAX, but it's the single laser, smaller format IMAX. My kids agreed that they wanted their first experience of this movie, Gen Z, to be at Universal IMAX, where it's the
real IMAX
70 millimeter print, full scale, largest screen possible, and
15 perf 70 millimeter.
Yeah, the 15 perf 70 mil. That was literally a family decision to push off the movie 2 weeks because there were some openings to go there. That they were willing to watch it 2 weeks later than normal to get it in that format for the first time.
That's great. That's so cool, though.
You've raised your girls well.
But the thing is that I'm not sitting here like, oh, you got to see 15 in film over digital. Like, I don't do that. Like, this is organic. That's
well, I would say the fact that this is entirely shot in IMAX is going to change the experience, meaning you absolutely really need to see this in 70 millimeter IMAX, because it was literally designed from top to bottom to see that.
Like, well, I mean, again, it's the first feature film, the first big Hollywood feature film ever in history to be shot entirely in 70 millimeter IMAX. No film has ever done this in history. And I mean, that's why I don't go out of my way to go to IMAX. I mean, I love IMAX, don't get me wrong. But this is the first movie that Ann and I have gone like, oh yeah, our first screening of this has to be in IMAX, like
yes,
true 70 millimeter IMAX.
Right.
And this is the first time we've ever done that. And Thursday afternoon, man, I'm going to go see this thing on Thursday afternoon in full crazy IMAX.
We're doing the same thing for Dune 3. There's just certain movies you see it in that format.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some people say, what about Batman? No, he shot parts of it in IMAX. There have been other movies that have absolutely shot segments in IMAX, but this is the first one they've ever done in full. And if you watch any of the behind the scenes things, that's a pain in the ass, man, because that rig, that camera they had to work with was monstrous.
Not just that, but the performers are going to they had to reproduce their performances because those cameras are so loud, you can't pick up the audio of the performance on the ground.
Well, but that was the thing. They built a blimp, and the blimp is so big. So this is the first time they built a blimp, because that's one of the problems with IMAX is you can't record dialogue because the cameras are so loud. So they made this blimp that it's now quiet, but you now can't shoot traditional over the shoulders or close-ups because the camera's so big, so the actor can't get near to the camera. So they had to use a mirror system to shoot close-up conversations where the actors were literally, instead of being like this, they're like this, and they're being bounced onto each other's views through a mirror. So they weren't even directly acting across from one another. They got used to it, but watching like Anne Hathaway talk to Matt Damon about this, I've been fascinated. I would dare say, not that anybody pays any attention, but the press junket of all of the interviews that all the different outlets have been doing with the actors on this are some of the most interesting and informative marketing interviews I've ever seen, because they get into what it's like working with these cameras and what it was like shooting. And rather than, I had so much fun making this movie, the process, and it's absolutely fascinating. I can't get enough.
All right, guys. Question is for you. Oh, by the way, before I sign off, I am so excited about later today looking back into the comments section of this video and seeing the Pinda Nuanga was black. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see those. That's going to be great. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, the actual real full-fledged big outlet movie critics have now gone and see the Odyssey, and they are raving about it. Like, it's not, yeah, this is good. It's like, no, this is perfection. This is epic. This is like the biggest thing of what a summer spectacle should be. Anyway, hopefully I like it, because there have been some things that everybody loved that I didn't, but I think this is going to be amazing. Guys, question is for you. Whatever you think about this whole thing, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's now time for us to move on to me taking your live comments and questions. But before we do that, we're going to bid good afternoon, of course, to Robert Meyer Burnett and, of course, Jonathan Voico. Good having you guys. We'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you. See you guys all very soon.
Thanks, guys. All right. That down, guys, we're now going to move over and take your live comments and questions. But before I do, you guys have been firing in a whole ton of questions, actually too many. So I am going to turn off the super chats right now, which I probably, once again, I keep thinking this Whenever we get to super chats, I always go, man, I should have turned these off sooner, but I never remember to do that. But that's okay. We got all your questions have come in here. We're going to get to all of them right now, and we're going to get things started. Let me see if I can get this up and on screen properly. Give me one moment, and I'll pop these up on screen. Hopefully this is the right one. And look at that, we are. All right, so we are going to start with, the first one comes to us from Jay Toven, who writes, World of Real reports that they've heard Gunn is considering directing Batman. Would this be a good or a bad thing if true? I mean, it's both. I mean, it's a good thing because James Gunn has never made a bad movie, in my opinion. He's a great director, all that kind of stuff. But bad in the fact that, guys, if DC is going to be a full, breathing, functional, healthy cinematic universe, you can't have James Gunn directing everything if he's also supposed to be the head of the studio. You can't do both jobs at the same time. I'm sorry, you can't. And so now, of course, I don't believe that report, because the reason I don't believe James Gunn is direct Batman, number one, it means they wouldn't even get started on Batman until after Man of Tomorrow comes out, because he's directing that. You can't be directing two movies at the same time. Not even James Gunn can do that. But also because I don't believe James Gunn is going to stay. I think James Gunn is going to wait till his 2027 contract is expired, and I believe James Gunn's leaving. I have no inside information of that. All right. That's just my guess as an average film fan. So my guess could be right. My guess could be wrong, but my guess is I don't even think he's going to be there after that. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Next up, we go from Jay Toven also to Jay Toven, writes, rewatch Civil War. What I love most about the movie is that it doesn't tell the audience how to think, even though it's a Cap movie. Yeah, I mean, one of the great things about Civil War is that when you're watching it, and guys, like, you could be Team Cap and you could be Team Tony, but throughout the film, the movie presents totally rational and good points raised by both sides. Like with Tony, you totally understand his positions. Like, look, people like us should not just be unsupervised. We shouldn't just have like reign to do whatever we want to do. We can't have no accountability, because when we have no accountability, bad things happen. Cap also raises some great things. You know, like because of everything he's seen and experienced, he doesn't trust the people who want to call the shots over them and all that kind of stuff. Now, what I always point out to people, though, is by the end of Civil War, even Tony joins Team Cap, because Tony has been on the side of, nope, we got to be accountable to the government. We have to follow their direction and all that kind of stuff. And at the end, he says, nope, I'm going to do my own thing. And he totally goes against the general, well, now the secretary's instructions and orders. He goes, he helps Cap and all that kind of stuff. And so even by the end of that movie, Tony is Team Cap. So, but you're right. I do love the fact that the movie never kind of hits you over the face with it. It's just like both sides in this Civil War have some really good, valid points about why they feel the way they feel. And that's just one of the reasons, just one of the many reasons, that's one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. All right. Next up. Mattia writes, over under 50% Batman Part 2 doesn't pass 700 million. I mean, 700 million is a big number. And I'm not going to say there's a 0% chance that Batman Part 2 doesn't go over 700 million. I'm not going to say 0, but 50% is way too high. I would say maybe there's like a 20% chance it doesn't go over 700. So still 20% chance it doesn't get to 700, but I would definitely take the under on 50% on that. Absolutely. Considering the first one made more than that and everybody loved the first one. So I think it's reasonable to think it'll make more than 700. We'll see though. All right. Next up. Brian Bledsoe writes, off topic, but I've wanted to ask your opinion on color grading. Since discourse about how TV shows and movies seem less vibrant, almost like filtered than 10, 20 years ago, do you see that? If so, why? Well, I mean, I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I mean, I think one reason, I guess I can take my headphones off now. One of the reasons I believe for that is that color grading, like any art, advances, right? And more people try new things and new styles and want to try different things. But honestly, to me, I think the biggest reason you see more tempered color grading in a lot of TV is because traditionally the richer color stuff is used to communicate tone, right? So traditionally, there's a lot of exceptions to this, so don't paint it with a broad brush. I'm just saying, generally speaking, things like action movies and TV shows, comedies, they would have the lighter kind of stuff. So you would have richer colors, brighter images, that kind of stuff, right? Because the lighter tone, the brighter images, that heightens the senses that you're going for with action and comedy. Dramas have always, for the most part, leaned a little bit more into the more tempered color grading to communicate that tone, right? And my guess, and it's just an uneducated guess, my guess is one of the reasons we see a little bit more tempered color grading in today's television is because, unlike 10 or 20 years ago, there's a hell of a lot more drama compared to comedy. There's still comedy out there, but like 10 plus years ago, I mean, TV was comedies with dramas. I think now the pendulum's gone a lot the other way, and we got a lot more drama. Like a lot more of the streaming stuff is drama. So that's why I think probably is, in as much as anything, is one of the reasons we notice more tempered color grading. But again, I could be way wrong on that. You just asked me out of the blue, so that's my out of the blue thought on it. All right. Thanks for that, Brian. Appreciate it, man. Next up, Nexus Fuel writes, what creepypasta or internet urban legend do you think could work well as a movie after Backroom's success? I personally would love to see an adaptation of Smile Dog or the Russian Sleep Experiment. Here's the problem. Whenever something comes out and it does well, I find we as film fans instantly look for, it's the formula that did it, right? Like the moment that somebody puts out an R-rated comic book movie and it does well, everybody thinks, well, now you should do all comic book movies rated R, regardless of historically, that's not a good idea. But that's the thing. So a movie comes out like Backrooms and it does pretty well. And everybody thinks, well, that's the formula is just get internet urban legends and turn those into movies and they'll have the same success. And no, that's not true. You still have to make a movie that looks appealing to people, that has all the fundamentals of a good movie. The formula is great, but there's been a lot of things that have tried to follow a similar formula that failed. So I don't really have one. Listen, if you can come up with one and then build a really good, interesting story around it, it can work. But I would resist the temptation to fall into the belief of, oh, internet urban legend turned to movie equals big success. That's just not real math. That's not real math. So that means a lot of things could work and any of them could fail, but the formula isn't what's going to dictate that, in my opinion, at any rate. All right. Next up, EJO Pearson writes, hey, John, I'm having trouble getting my family interested in the Minions. Just like Fall Guy, they don't care about old Hollywood like we fans do. Again, you look at the themes in almost any of the Despicable Me things, the themes had nothing to do with it, with their success. They just looked adorable, it looked fun, it looked funny. And like none of the themes in any of the Despicable Me things are particularly hot themes. And so I don't think the Minions making movies is like, oh, well, I'm not interested in the Minions making movies. I could be wrong. I'm just spitballing here, but I don't see how that is what kept people away from seeing Minions. Like if you like Minions, I think this looks cute and it's got Minions doing Minions things, whatever their environment is. So I just don't know that the fact that that this one is set around the Minions making movies, I don't think that's what kept people away. Again, I could be wrong about that, but I just don't know. I just know that's true. Anyway. All right. Next up. Bajaro writes, check out the Gal Gadot obsession video. Hilarious. Okay, I'm going to assume you're talking about that girl on Instagram. For those of you who do not know, there is this woman on Instagram who, background context for any of you who don't know, I like Gal Gadot. I really do. I think as a person, she seems fascinating. And when I've seen her do panels, I think she's been charming and wonderful. I really do. But going all the way back over a decade now, for you guys who've watched me for any period of time, in as much that I think she is an absolutely delightful human being, I have said forever, she cannot act. She can't act. I think she's shown a little bit of growth and improvement over the years, but she really can't act at any rate. So with that being said, and understanding that that's my mindset, there's this woman, I don't even know her name. If any of you guys in the live chat know what her name is, there's this Instagram account, this woman online who does Gal Gadot doing movies. Like she impersonates her doing lines from her movies and other movies. And it's just some of the most bang on and hilarious stuff I've ever seen. Again, I can't remember the name. But if any of you guys know the name of the account or whatever, throw it up there and I'll share it because she is dynamite. But I've not seen her doing Obsession. And now I am absolutely going to be going and searching for that afterwards. And I know it's mean. I don't mean to dogpile on Gal at all. Cause again, I have found her in all the stuff I've seen her in that she is a delightful person. But this girl is really funny. She really, really is. Anyway. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got, who do we got? We've got Pi, who writes, somebody in the live chat is saying her name is, let's see if I get this, Charissa Bosson-Akis. Is that right, everybody? Other people are saying it too. All right. Charissa Bosson-Akis. I highly recommend jumping on Instagram, looking her up, and watching her Gal Gadot stuff. It's really, really funny. Anyway. All right. Let's keep going here. Pi writes, I think Navarrete could be a great Polaris. Navarrete is, of course, the girl who stars in Obsession. I think Navarrete could be a great Polaris for the X-Men reboot. If they do age up Kitty so Indy can play her, then Odessa Zion should play Polaris. She wouldn't be bad. And Sophie Thatcher should play Rogue since Thatcher wants that role. Listen, every actress on the planet wants the role. Okay? Well, this actress said she wants the role. Yeah. All of them want the role. Every one of them out there want the role. You don't give somebody a role. And again, we got to be careful when we do. I do this as well. I'm just saying we've got to be careful when we do this X actor and X role thing, because while I was saying like I could see her as a really great Kitty Pryde aged up, but I say that not knowing what their Kitty Pryde is going to be like. Like, depending on how they handle Kitty Pryde, maybe Indy Navarrete isn't the right choice for it, right? So I'm just saying we got to be a little bit careful. But yeah, Sophie Thatcher said she wants the role. Well, every actress in Hollywood wants the role. Every actress in Hollywood wants a high-paying job being in a big movie. They all do, unless her name is, Meryl Streep or something. They pretty much all want it. All right. Thanks for that, Pi. And by the way, Pi sent in a $20 super chat. Thank you, man, for supporting us on that level, dude. By the way, I do like the Odessa Zion drop. I like that one. That one's pretty good. All right, Dean Talk Movies just sends in a super chat badge to be supportive. Thank you, man, for that. I appreciate it. All right. Steve Cataneo writes, John, can't stand young people turning Church of the movie. Let me try this. Okay, there you go. John, can't stand young people turning Church of the movie theater into their own personal hotel room. Thoughts? I'm old as fuck, 42-year-old Scrooge. If you're talking about people going into theaters and falling asleep, that's tough. I don't think, well, let me rephrase that. I do have a friend who on a couple of occasions has like driven into Vegas and didn't want to get a hotel room, but needed to kill about, 5 hours. So they went and got something to eat, and on a couple of occasions then bought a movie ticket, went into the theater like a half hour before the movie's supposed to start, and got like a solid 3-hour nap. Yeah, that's not so good. But listen, a lot of people just fall asleep watching movies sometimes. Even the biggest of movie fans, some people fall asleep watching movies. It happens. I remember, actually it just happened to me. We were on the movie meetup tour and my buddy Ryan came along to help me with the drive. Thank God he was there. And we had done a lot of driving, man, and we were operating on not too much sleep. So like in our third viewing of Mandalorian and Grogu, we'd be there and I'd be watching the movie and all of a sudden I'd hear Ryan beside me like snoring really loud, and I'd have to like jab him, stuff like that. It happens. It happens. All right. Ryan Looney writes, one of two. Having Rhaenyra refuse to elevate Corlys' sons is an interesting change. In the book, she does it without issue, but she's colder and elitist. Without giving too much away, their split in the books comes later. Very curious to see how it is handled. Again, the thing I really liked about it is that throughout the show, she has had to deal with a lot of problems because in Westeros, her children weren't legitimate. And that caused a lot of problems for her. Life stake problems. Like people literally died over those issues. And so I kind of like the fact that they're not just brushing over that. So when she's faced with this thing, now she's queen. Now she's got the throne again. And now faced with this thing, I would side with Corlys, of course, but I like the fact that for her, it's a struggle because she literally had to deal with a lot of shit over this issue. And so it's not easy for her. So I appreciate the fact that the show makes her struggle with it. I kind of like that myself. All right. Next up. Thanks for that, Ryan. Dean Talks Movie sends in another super chat badge to be supportive. Thank you, Dean. Quantum of Zen sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Quantum of Zen, for supporting us on that level, man. And Quantum writes, Supergirl would have been better as a wild card supporting character in the DCU than one of Gunn's 4 pillars, and we still haven't seen 2 of the 4. Incorrect. You only say that because the movie didn't work. And the movie didn't fail to work because the character at the center of it is Kara Zor-El. The movie failed to work because they wrote a bad script. They didn't execute it well, and they just made a poor movie. Not the worst movie, but a poor movie. You could have made this movie with Wonder Woman, and it still would be a bad movie. I mean, hopefully you got the same wrong screenwriter and all the problems that went along with it. None of it had to do with the fact that Supergirl was the character. They just made a bad movie. If the movie had been good, that's the thing. Winning cures everything. If the movie had been really good, none of these topics would be things we'd be talking about right now. We wouldn't be talking about any of these things. But the movie wasn't exceedingly good. The movie wasn't good. And as a result, it was never going to be huge, but if Supergirl had been great, it'd be making $300, $400, $500 million. But it's not. And so I don't think the problem was they made the movie a Supergirl movie. The problem was they made a bad movie. If the movie had been great, none of us would have an issue. None of us would have a problem. It's like if Black Panther had turned out to be a bad film, and thankfully it was great. But if Black Panther turned out to be a bad film, I already know a lot of people would be saying they should have had a better villain than Nobody knows Killmonger. Nobody cares about Killmonger. They should have had should have been a different villain. the villain was not the problem, right? The using Killmonger worked perfectly for the movie, but because the movie's good, nobody talks about it. If the movie had been bad, then everybody would say, oh, well, they didn't use a more popular villain. They should have drawn from somewhere else in the Marvel universe, put in a villain that more people recognize and more people care about, and blah, blah, blah. Everybody would have been talking about them using, nobody knows who Killmonger is other than people who read Black Panther, which is the very minority of the movie-going audience. But the movie was good, so we don't worry about it. Of course, Killmonger was great. Michael B. Jordan was amazing in that role. Right? All that kind of stuff because the movie was good. And so I would contend, my film-loving brother, Quantum of Zen, I would contend that the issue isn't that they made a Supergirl movie. The issue is they made a bad movie. And so that's how I kind of look at it. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, man. I appreciate that, dude. And thank you so much for supporting us on that level, dude. I appreciate it very much. All right. Next up. We got Fargonaut, who writes, John, can I ask you something funny, dumb, and totally random? Do you snore? And if so, how loud? Do you also talk in your sleep or sleepwalk? Do you do all three? Interesting question. And you know what? That's a fear of mine. It's a total fear of mine. You want to know why it's a fear of mine? I have never in my life, my dad is the greatest man I've ever known. He is the greatest model of what a real man is I have ever known. That guy could wake the dead with his snoring. I remember once, true story, and if my dad is watching this, sorry for telling this story, but true story. I remember once when I was younger, when my dad brought me along on a hunting trip with him and a couple of his buddies. And he had me go along. My dad was the Italian, and he loved rabbit hunting. And so they got a cabin, this hunting cabin. And I remember, I knew my dad snored, but I thought it was a normal thing. I remember all the guys made my dad sleep in this isolated room on the far end of the lodge because my dad snored so loud. Like literally, that was the first time I realized, oh, it's not just me. Like everybody, they literally made my dad sleep in this isolated room on the other side of the lodge. So I've always worried about that. Generally, no, I don't snore though. My wife has told me there have been a couple of times that I snore a little bit, but generally speaking, I don't snore. I don't talk in my sleep. I've never had anybody I know tell me I talk in my sleep. So I can only guess that I don't talk in my sleep. I don't sleepwalk, anything like that. So yeah, anyway, wild out of the left field question, but an interesting one nonetheless. All right. Elliot Morris writes, hey, John, first time writing in. Well, thank you for writing in, Elliot, and thank you for being here. What's your opinion on the role of a producer and their importance of a film's success compared to a director? Well, look, I'm not going this is an hour-long discussion, and you know what? I've already talked to a producer buddy of mine that I'm going to have on the show at some point. I've already talked to him about it a while ago. We just never gotten around to schedule it, but he's a legitimate produced Hollywood films. I'm going to have him on sometime to really go in depth into the role of the producer. If you want to see a funny satirical approach, but it's true nonetheless about the overall role of a producer, watch a little movie called Wag the Dog. I'm going to type that in to the live chat. Go look it up. Wag the Dog. And if you want to, again, it's satirical and it's funny, but if you want to get a sense of really what the overall job of a producer is, go watch Wag the Dog, because there is no movie without the producer. And yeah. Every movie can have like 15 people have a producer title: associate producer, executive producer, this producer, senior producer, producer. But at the core of it, there's always one or two true producers. The people who actually make the movie happen. They're the ones who secure the rights to the script. They're the ones who get the right director on board. They're the ones who create the initial vision for the movie. They're the ones who then make sure everybody has what they need. Another good example, if you want to, if you go back to the old Star Wars prequel DVDs, I'm trying to remember the name. Let me just look this up here quickly. The name of the guy, name of the producer of the Star Wars prequels. Go back and watch the old Star Wars prequel DVDs. Rick McCallum was his name. I met Rick. I actually got to hang out with Rick for a day. And if you watch the DVDs, you'll see everything Rick McCallum does as the producer. The producer is also the one who makes sure everything is there. He gets everything the director needs to make their stuff. It's their movie. There's a reason why when you watch the Academy Awards, the person who gets the Oscar for Best Picture isn't the director, unless the director is also like one of the main producers of the film. That happens sometimes. But it's the producer of the film who gets it because it's their movie. So again, I would need to talk about this for like a half hour or an hour to really go into it. But that's the general idea. It is their movie. They're the ones who put everything together. They're the ones who get the director. I mean, so again, I know that's not a very good answer, but I can't spend 30 minutes here doing that. But again, go watch Wag the Dog. Watch some of those behind the scenes stuff on the Star Wars prequel DVDs with Rick McCallum, and it'll give you a good idea. And I will have my producer friend on sometime to talk more about what he does to get a movie into existence. So we'll make that happen sometime soon. All right. Thanks a lot for that, Elliot. Interesting question. Okay. Next up, we got Mike T54 who writes and sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Mike. Thank you guys so much for supporting us that way. It means a lot. Thank you, Mike. And Mike writes, hey, John, this might be a multi-post question. When it comes to Marvel's film right deals they made in the early 2000s with Fox, Sony, and others, did that equate to characters only in existence at the time or in perpetuity? It's in perpetuity. I'll jump into the second. By the way, I made an editorial video on my YouTube channel. I'm just going to see if I can pull it up here. I don't know why my focus is working really wonky today. Like I'm getting a lot of focus breathing today. I don't know why that's happening today. I'll look into that. Anyway, Spider-Man writes, okay, so I made a video. Spider-Man is unquestionably the most popular. Let me see if I can just bring it up here quick. It's called Understanding the Marvel Sony Spider-Man Deal and Rights. I didn't do it long ago. I just put it up like 3 months ago. Let me see. There's the thumbnail for it right here at the top. So if you want to get a really good, clear picture of how the Spider-Man rights works, that's a good video to go and watch. Anyway, let's go over and finish reading your second part. What I mean by that is since characters like Silk and Spider-Gwen were introduced in the 2010s, does Sony get their film rights because they are Spider-Man adjacent? How do these deals typically work? And was Fox's deal similar? Yeah, they're in perpetuity. Any character that even comes into existence after the advent of the deal. Remember, they have redone their deal several times. I explained that also in that video. There was the initial deal. There was the secondary rights deal when they made that famous deal to let Spider-Man be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe while still under Sony's control. And then they even re-upped that deal and redid the deal again a couple of years later after that. I go into all of that in the video. But yes, all the Spider-Verse characters fall under Sony. There are very, very, very few exceptions that almost aren't even worth mentioning. Kingpin, for example. There are a couple of very, 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 very few that you can count on one hand exception characters because they do cross-pollinate with other major characters in the Marvel Cinematic. But generally speaking, any Spider character is under Sony's control. So I hope that answers that, man. And thank you, Mike, for supporting me on that level, dude. That's incredibly generous of you, man. Thank you so much. All right. Jarrett writes, I'm calling it now, John. The Bane/Deathstroke movie will basically be Hobbs and Shaw, with Hobbs being Bane and Shaw being Deathstroke. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think this movie's going to happen. Again, nobody's told me that. I could be 1,000% wrong. I don't think that movie's going to happen. I just don't see the logic. Now, in 4 years, yeah. After you've got a Batman movie and a Wonder Woman movie, hell, maybe even your first Justice League movie, a couple of adjacent characters, an Aquaman, whatever. Yeah. 3, 4, 5 years, I could see them doing it. But right now, it makes no sense. It makes no sense to do that movie right now. I would go see it for sure, but I just don't see how it makes any sense to do it. But hey, yeah, that could be the approach they take if and when they ever get around to doing it. All right. Zuri writes, Supergirl will do fine on PVOD, and there's a big section of reactors on YouTube/Patreon who will watch. No point in keeping it in theaters. I don't see the issue. Here's the point. They're going to be there to watch it if it comes out on July 28th, or if they wait 2 weeks after that. There's no drawback. There is absolutely nothing to be gained by putting that movie out on PVOD on the 28th instead of waiting 13 more days after that and reach the 45-day window. No drawback at all. All those people you're talking about, they'll still do it in 2 weeks. The drawback, though, is that everybody misses the big picture. The big picture is, and I know this for a fact, because as I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, I have people write into me all the time that tell me, yeah, I go to see fewer movies now. Like any movies that I'm kind of close to on the fence about, whatever, I just know it's going to be out in theaters. By dumping movies onto digital streaming that fast, you just more and more condition the audience to go, if there's any movies I'm kind of on the fence about, I just know it's going to come out soon. It's going to be out on home video soon. I'll just wait. And that damages the theater. Now you are damaging future movies. Supergirl's not going to make any more money if you leave it in theaters for a couple more weeks. I'm not pretending it will. It won't. It won't. But there's nothing to gain. There is zero to gain by dumping it on streaming and dumping it on PVOD at the height of its negative hype, at the highest point of the general negative sentiment around it, and not waiting a couple more weeks. There's nothing to gain. There is no reason to do it. There is nothing you lose by waiting 2 more weeks to put it out on PVOD. Nothing. But what you gain by waiting a couple more weeks is that you don't reinforce the conditioning of the movie-going audience to just sit around and wait at home because the movie will just be out on TV in a couple of weeks. Got to think big picture about these things, not small little micro thing. You got to think bigger picture. How does this affect the overall franchise? How does this affect the overall film industry as a whole? Basically, 0 things you lose if you wait 2 more weeks, but you do damage to the industry as a whole by rushing things out onto PVOD. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. The fact that I have so many film viewers writing into me all the time telling me they do that is that. So yes, you say, no point in keeping it in theaters. There's no point in not waiting for 2 weeks. No point. Nothing. You lose nothing if you wait 2 more weeks, but you do avoid compounding the problem. So I always try to look at things from a bigger point of view, from a bigger macro view, but that's just me at any rate. All right. Thanks for writing that in, Zuri. I appreciate you and I disagree on this, but I love the fact that you wrote in and gave me your opinion on that. So thank you for that, man. All right. With that down, guys, that'll do it for today's episode of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you, guys, to the thousands of you in the live chat who have been here and, given us really cool ideas and things, thrown in your really funny comments. I've enjoyed it very, very much. So thank you for that. And a big thank you to all you guys who sent in the super chat questions. Number one, because you gave us interesting things to talk about. And even more importantly, you supported our channel as you did it. And everybody involved with the John Campea Show, thanks you so very much for your support. All right, guys, we'll be back again tomorrow. Oh, might as well let you know, tomorrow we got a really cool, one of my favorite guys online, Sean Chandler, is going to be joining us tomorrow on the show. I'll look forward to that. Hopefully we'll have you guys here too. That'll do it for me for now, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.